Jazz Ranch, hip cats, groovy chicks, dudes, lads and lassies. This is the real Jazz Ranch. As you can see in the background here, you can see the ranch. It's not a figment of my imagination. This is the view out the back window of the studio here. And today I'm going to be talking about pedal tones and applying them to the song All of You, which I'm going to play for you, and then I'm going to talk about pedal tones in the tutorial after this. I'll also give you a shot of the horses a little bit later on. You can come here and ride, and you can sit around the campfire and sing bebop tunes. Anyway, I got 3 quotes for you. The first one is this: jazz stands for freedom. It's supposed to be the voice of freedom. So get out there and improvise and take chances and don't be a perfectionist. Leave that to the classical musicians. Now that came from Dave Brubeck. Imagine that. He was a classical player who became a jazz player who was very highly influenced by classical music in his playing. But he was a great jazz pianist and composer, of course. Next quote is this: jazz is the only music in which you can play the same note night after note, but it sounds different each time. And that was Ornette Coleman. And he did that, so that's a good one. And the last one comes from a great jazz, actually a great blues player, and he said this: jazz is the big brother of the blues. If a guy's playing blues like we play, he's in high school. But when he starts playing jazz, it's like going on to college, to a school of higher learning. Now that came from B.B. King. How about that? So now here we go with the song All of You, and here's a shot of the horses. Click! You can ride these and come down and sit around the campfire and sing campfire songs and bebop tunes. Here we go with All of You. started with the tutorial, and the reason, we try to come up with catchy titles to our videos to attract people. So I called this one the Hip Sound. Now, the reason I called it that is because the actual recording that I made of the song was inspired by Miles Davis, and there's probably no jazz musician that's hipper than him or cooler than him. So and he made a recording of this song live in Europe back, I think in the late 60s, early 70s. Herbie Hancock was on it. And so my interpretation of this was based on an inspiration I got from that interpretation by Miles Davis. So he took Cole Porter's tune and made it very hip. And a lot of that has to do with the idea of the pedal tone, creating suspension and hovering, I call it, and then creating forward movement with the bass and with the drums. And then at the end, later on, doing this sort of vamp figure, which is a little ascending line. And then at the end, tagging. So those three features, the pedal tone, the vamp feature, and then the tag at the end. Those are three features that I did in this arrangement that was inspired by Miles, who was the coolest, hippest cat, in the jazz world, and has been for many, many years. So, what is a pedal tone? Well, I'm going to give you the definition because it has to do with classical music originally. So it is, in music, pedal tone, it could be a pedal note or an organ point or a pedal tone, is the sustained tone typically in the bass, during which at least one foreign dissonant harmony is sounded on the other parts. So you'd have, bass note like that, a B flat. In this case, we're in the key of E flat, so you'd have a B flat pedal tone, which would be it's the fifth step of the scale. And you'd have, maybe an F minor, first chord is an F minor 7 flat 5. It gets to B flat. Now, that makes the chord defined here as a B flat sus 4 flat 9. Okay, but it's really an F minor 7 flat 5 with a B flat in the bass. It's defining it there. Now, the definitions over here will not always be accurate because it's a computer, but it's really an F minor 7 flat 5 with a B flat in the bass. And it's redefining it as a B flat sus 4 flat 9, which is fine. That's okay. Based on how I voice it in the right hand is going to change what the computer thinks it is. But now also, this is the fifth step of the scale, right? The B flat. We're in the key of B flat, so the fifth step it's the 5. So another definition is a dominant pedal simply means that regardless of the chord of the moment, the bass note will sit on the dominant pitch of the key. Now, I got this from Wikipedia, so you pretty much rely on it. So the B flat there with the F minor 7 flat 5 is going to create a B flat 7 sus 4 flat 9. So I'm going to have, then I go to the E flat. Now there it's defining it correctly. There it is, an E flat major chord, major 7 with a B flat pedal. Now what is the pedal doing? Well, it's creating a sense of suspension or lack of animation. In other words, lack of forward movement. It's sitting you on a pedal sound, on a, in the bass it's they call it a, I believe, an obligato. In other words, you're staying on one note. Now, it could be rhythmic, could be like, it could be just sustaining it. It could be playing a pattern like, it could be playing a pattern, it doesn't matter. In other words, it's staying on one note, which is usually the fifth step of the scale. Now, it can be the 1, the root, Those are the two most often pedal tones. Most often is the fifth. Secondly would be the root, and I'm going to give you examples of those later on with some classic examples. In this case, and in Miles' case, it's the fifth. So in the key of E flat, it's going to be the B flat on the bottom. Now, it creates, like I said, a suspension in which we are hovering. We're staying in one place. We're not having forward movement. So it now it moves. Now it's moving. Now it's rhythmic. It's like if you were dancing, you'd be staying in one place or moving very slowly, and then when it starts to go forward, you would start to take steps, and you would move and start to walk into different positions, you know. And what it does is it creates for the player, when you're playing it, it gives you kind of playing simple to start, and then start to move and become more complex, or play more linear, or more, you know, complex lines, or faster moving lines, or more eighth notes, or whatever. In other words, it really creates a way to create an arrangement and to improvise on that arrangement, which is interesting. Much more interesting than just playing in 4 or playing in 2. You have contrast between the two sections. The pedal tone section is sitting and stationary and, you know, holding the pattern, and then after the 8 measures you start to move, and now you start to move and become more animated, shall we say, if I can describe it. So it's really fun to play with pedal tones that way, and I'm going to show you a variety of those. In this case, it was just the B flat pedal, and then when it moves it goes to G minor 11 to a G flat, that's a tritone substitute, or an F sharp 11th to a F minor 7 to a B flat 7, and then I went to the 1 chord and I played them as sharp 9s. There you can see it's telling you it's a sharp 9, and then down the scale chromatically in sharp 9s. Now here I go to C7 sharp 9. And I went to a substitute chord here. You can call it a C flat major 9, but I call it a B major 9. To the 5 chord. B flat 9. So the important thing is to distinguish between the two sections. The section in which is on the pedal, and then the section that is moving. And that happens twice in the head. Now, on the second chorus, what happens that's interesting is the bass is starting to move, more animated on the pedal tone. But then he's still staying on that B flat. But then the next 8 measures, he's walking. So now you have a contrast that's even more interesting, because you really got it swinging harder when he's walking. And the drummer's playing differently too. He's playing more straight ahead on the walking feel. Now, the third section, or the third chorus, I have this D flat. Now that comes directly from the recording by Miles in Europe on this song. And it's similar to a pedal tone, but it's more like a vamp. You know, it's very hip. And so now you get a similar thing that you get with the pedal tone, but it's different. It's like a little vamp, and it's in a 2-beat. So then you can do the 2-beat, and then you can switch and go to the 4-beat after the 8 measures of that little vamp, and start to swing harder, and so on. Now at the end, what you have is a tag. Now what is the tag? You're coming down to the end. I'm just going to play it for you. instead of resolving to the 1 chord here, I'm going to go extending the scale to the 5 chord, and then to a 3 chord, the G minor, and then to a C7, and to an F minor 9, and to a B flat 7. So I'm going around the cycle of fifths, keeping the forward motion, and yet it goes into a 2-beat. So it has a more relaxed feel. But you see, what you're doing, you're extending the process of ending the song on the 1 chord. And that's very hip. So you've got 3 elements of hipness here. You've got the pedal tone, you've got the little vamp, and then you've got the extension of tagging at the end, which keeps the groove going. And you try to get a little funky at that at the end there, and it's a beautiful thing. Now, if you really want to get a sense of this, of what I'm doing, go back and listen to this recording of Miles Davis playing it live in Europe. All of you. It's a classic cut, and Herbie Hancock's solo is probably one of his greatest solos, and it is so swinging and so funky and so hip that's why I call it the hip sound. So there you have it. Now I'm going to talk about a few other uses of the pedal tone for you now, and see if I can get through this. Now the pedal tone can be on the 5 like that, but another example might be to use the song Night and Day. Let's see if I can get it. I'm going to play it in C. Okay, so now can't change the key up there unless I change the whole system. So we'll just assume we're in the key of C. Let's even get the chord here. Or is it? Amazingly enough, on the song Night and Day, the first chord, the melody note is the major 7. A5 major 7 to a G7 to a C major 7. So we're in the key of C now. Like I said, I would have to reload the whole system to get it to read key of C. So just assume that take the flats out of there. You know, I'm trying to do this in one pass, one take, because otherwise I have to set the whole OBS studio up again. So now, often the first chord of this tune is a D half diminished. D minor 7 flat 5. It doesn't even read it. There it is. With the 11 on the top, the G on the top, to G13. So now I can play the 5 pedal tone over that system, like melodic system and chordal system. That moves. How that works to that pedal tone. So builds the suspension. How it moves. I'm playing it kind of bossa nova style. But anyway, that's another example of using the 5. Now, example of using the 1. Ahmed Jamal did a version of Once I Have a Secret Look. Let's see. It was in F, so now just put 1 flat up there. That's the melody. So he did it with the pedal being on the 1, on the root. So it's an F. And it was like this. And he had a figure like this. see, so it creates an interesting arrangement, and more interesting that. So I played with a bass player who played the root note D flat on the song Body and Soul. So it would sound like this. It's just melody. Now it change here. Pedal tone again. You see, then it moves. See, so that's a very cool and hip sound, as we say. So I hope you enjoyed this. Write to me. I'm using this new technique of the OBS Studio. I hope you like it. It's a lot more complicated for me to do this, but I'm kind of enjoying the challenge of it, and I hope you're enjoying it too. So write to me. Love to hear from you, and give me time to respond. I try to respond to all comments. If you look at my videos, you'll see that I do leave comments. It might take me a month, but I always try to get back to you. So I'll have a sign off now. We'll go back to the ranch. Okay, signing off from the Jazz Ranch. Thanks so much for joining me on this expedition through the pedal tone technique. Hope you enjoyed this. Sorry for the reflections. I'm still learning this OBS system, and trying to get the lighting, and I added the green screen, the green screen on the back so you can see the ranch out the back door and the back window. And if you come out here, you'll get to ride the horses. We go camping. We sing country songs. We sing bebop songs, campfire songs. You sit around the campfire. Of course, this time of year we go swimming in the lake. You saw the lake out there. Anyway, you'll have a fabulous time if you come to the Jazz Ranch. And of course, we play music. We have jam sessions all over. Great jam sessions. Anyway, it's a great institution here. And so glad you're supporting us. Please buy my book. It keeps me employed, so I have an income. And until next time, I will write to you if you leave a comment. Just give me time. It might take a month or two, but I will write to you. So next time I say, swing loose. Hermie's up there. He's still riding his horse and wearing his cowboy hat. So, love you guys. Stay well. Be good. And swing loose. Bye-bye.